Welcome to the second module of the GDPR and Privacy by Design course. In this module, we're going to be discussing privacy-enhancing technologies. My name is Leonardo Martucci, and I'll be teaching parts of this module for you. In this first slidecast, we're going to be discussing what are pets. As you may recall from the previous session on Introduction to Privacy and the GDPR, there are many ways you can protect personal data, and one of them is using technical means. Technology to protect personal data. And this is the focus of privacy-enhancing technologies and the focus of this module. We're going to be discussing how this module is structured later on in this slidecast. Privacy-enhancing technologies exist in many types according to the objectives that they have. Some of them are about controlling over personal data, or how actually you can give end users the control over their data once transferred to a service or to an application that makes use of them. Some of them are about controlling the release. Some of them are about finding out how this data is processed. Some of them on restricting how this data is transferred later on. Tools that also offer transparency to the end user can also be into this range of tools that offer that. Transparency meaning that end user will know what happens to their data when something is processed or this data is transferred to someone. Other privacy-enhancing technologies have as goals data minimization and avoidance, meaning that data, when it's transferred to a service, an application, it is only the minimum amount of personal data is transferred, the minimum amount that is required by the service to be performed. Others try to avoid personal data at all. It means that if you don't transfer any personal data, some regulations such as the GDPR will not really apply. Other privacy-enhancing technologies focus on identity management. Identity management means that once a user has like several partial identities, meaning you have one partial identity for an online social network, another one for online shopping, another one for online banking applications, you can differentiate and manage all these different identities in a separate and isolated manner. Other privacy-enhancing technologies focus on the lawful processing of data, or how actually process data or process personal data on a lawful way. For instance, if you want to follow or adhere to the GDPR, there will be privacy-enhancing technologies that offer tools for you to help doing that. And other privacy-enhancing technologies also focus on data security and integrity, what's also included in GDPR. GDPR also has provisions for data security and integrity, as you may recall from the first part of this course. What actually privacy-enhancing technologies do? They basically offer technical means for protecting your data. How it's done by offering standards and protocols and tools and mechanisms that can perform that. For instance, standards and protocols, we have TLS, for instance, the standard protocol that's used a lot and is defined in our IETF RFC, the 5246. Other standards like XACAMO are used for access control, and protocols such as Tor and Mixes are used for anonymous communications. They're going to see later on in this module. On tools and mechanisms, some of them actually implement parts of the standards, some of them implement protocols, some of them actually support for those. For instance, Let's Encrypt, one topic of this module, is one way for you to set up certificates in a very easy manner. Or when you talk about secure messaging apps, those are also technical means for protecting your personal data, in this case by encrypting messages that are exchanged on mobile phones. And also, for instance, browser extensions that you have running on a browser in a way that they can better protect your personal data, for instance, by running script blockers, or that you can find out or have more control over the data that you're transferring or receiving from a website. How actually pets are related to GDPR? If you want to be compliant with the GDPR, you need to know about pets. And that's the reason is that pets are countermeasures for threats to personal data. If you may recall, in the GDPR, there is provision for one action that's called the Data Protection Impact Assessment. And the Data Protection Impact Assessment is an assessment of your application on the risks that involve the handling of personal data. We're going to see that on the next module, like DPIA, into more details. And one important part of the Data Protection Impact Assessment, or DPIA, is that it has one provision for countermeasures. And countermeasures are privacy-enhancing technologies. So you need to know privacy-enhancing technologies if you're going to write a DPIA and if you want to be compliant to the GDPR. And that's the goal of this module. We're going to find out different types of countermeasures, and how actually they can be used to protect your personal data. This module, or the second module, is structured into 5 parts or 5 days. Today, we're going to talk about introduction. We have a few, like 4 slide casts that are going to be part of this. For the second day, we're going to focus on secure communications. Then on third day, on anonymous communications. On the fourth day, on databases. And the 5th day, we have a few additional topics that we consider very important for you to know. Better series of countermeasures that can be used when planning for protecting personal data. So it's a full week module. You're going to learn a lot about privacy technologies. Right now, we are like on the part 1, the introduction. We have like our 4 slide cast. The first one where we are right now is about what are pets. Next, we're going to talk about secure technologies, and after that, warning technologies, and then you need to talk about some terminology that will be very important for the conclusion of this course and later on for when you want to discuss privacy and data protection. Thank you very much, and see you next time.